Hey, Dr. McNamara here, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about muscle hypertrophy. So, building more muscle mass, putting muscle on the body. Let's start with the definition of what it is and then why it actually might be beneficial for you. So, muscle hypertrophy can be defined as the increase of muscle fibers as a result of increased workload or resistance training. It occurs through an increase of volume of the muscle cells, which is different than hyperplasia, which would be the increase of number of muscle cells. This can be achieved through consistent weightlifting or resistance training, as well as progressive increases in weight and volume over time. Additionally, adequate nutrition and rest are also very important and essential in promoting muscle hypertrophy. So, why would this actually benefit someone having more muscle mass? Well, for one, it's going to lead to more strength. That's going to help reduce fall risks. It's going to help you function better throughout the day, help you perform different tasks with ease. And not only that, it's more of a metabolically active tissue. So having more muscle mass is actually going to keep you lower body fat percentage and keep you at a healthier metabolic state than if you were to have less muscle mass. So what we want to build as we're young and we have the ability to put a lot of muscle on is we want to build as much muscle as we can before we start getting, into our 50s, 60s, and so on, and start getting that age-related muscle sarcopenia. That's something we want to kind of put as much money in the bank, if you will, as we can. So when we have to deposit it when we're elder in life, we have a much greater amount of muscle mass that we can draw from. Thinking of it like a bank account, you have more money for vacations, etc., things like that. So very, very important for aging, very, very important for performance and everyday life as well. So you really want to make sure that you have some sort of resistance training and muscle hypertrophy plan in order to mitigate any type of age-related effects later down the line. So let's get on with it and let's talk about a few tips on how to improve muscle hypertrophy. So first thing you're going to want to do, and I mentioned it earlier, is you're going to want to have some sort of progressive overload. This means you're going to gradually increase the weight or resistance used in your exercises over time. This will continually challenge your muscles, so they have to adapt and promote more growth. So this could be weightlifting is the easiest way to do it, and what I like to stick with is push, pull, squat, hinge type of program. So I'm performing all these different functional movements, and the main list I stick to would be bench press for my push, rows for my pull, deadlift for my hinge, and squat for my squat. And I'll do those exercises, about 3 times throughout the week, and I will slowly try to progress the intensity. I'll try to get the weights. I'll try to lift more weight for the amount of reps I'm doing per each given exercise. That's one way you can do that. Another way is perhaps you're doing body weight training. You don't have access to weights. You could increase the number of repetitions or the number of sets to increase that progressive overload over. You're also going to want to make sure that you have adequate volume. You're going to want to make sure you're doing enough sets and reps of each exercise to thoroughly fatigue each muscle. Aim for at least anywhere from, really, it shows muscle groups anywhere from about 5 reps per set all the way up to about 30. The thing that you want to shoot for is to actually challenge yourself. And let's say you've been doing, a higher rep scheme. Maybe you've been doing, somewhere between 15 to 20 reps. If you've been doing that for a while, maybe what would be best would be to actually lower the amount of repetitions you're doing and increase the amount of weight so you can build up the intensity that way. Usually, the best advice as far as volume goes is to whatever you're currently doing or have been doing for a long time, change it up a little bit and see if you can. This new stimulus will promote different adaptation. You're going to really want to make sure you're using proper form. If you've never lifted before or don't have any experience, I recommend you see some sort of biomechanics specialist, perhaps a chiropractor, physical therapist, trainer, someone that knows what they're doing and that can direct you in the proper way so you can perform these movements without getting any sort of injury. This is not only going to avoid injury, but it's also going to make sure that you're contracting the muscle group that you want to work. This is going to ensure that the muscles that you're trying to work are being effectively stimulated and not other muscle groups. And again, avoid injury. You're going to want to have some sort of variety generally when you're beginning any sort of resistance training program. This is so you can hit different muscle groups in different ways, have different stimulus so you can have different adaptations as a result of what I recommend is doing some sort of push, pull, squat, hinge routine, and then within each of those categories. So for push, pick about 2 to 3 exercises. They're going to work vertical pressing movement as well as a horizontal pressing movement. 2 to 3 of those, and then do about 3 to 4 sets, whatever rep ranges that you're doing within that, and do the same thing with some sort of pulling movement, some sort of row. Same thing, kind of do a vertical as well as a horizontal movement. And then for the squat and the hinging, you can just change up stimulus by changing up the type of squat or the type of hinge you're doing. For example, moving from a back squat to a front squat every so often, or moving from maybe like a single leg RDL to a double leg RDL, hinging, things like that. Another extremely important aspect, probably in my opinion, the most difficult aspect when in terms of building muscle, is the nutrition. You are going to have to consume enough protein to support your muscle growth and repair. You're going to want to aim for about 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight per day. This is one of the most difficult parts because protein has a very high satiety rating. So when you eat lots of protein, it makes you feel very, very full. So another thing with this is you don't want to consume too much protein at one time. So right around 30 grams is where of protein is where the body is going to kind of reach the maximum amount of protein synthesis that it can reach for a given time for a few hours. So that doesn't mean that if you consume more protein, you're not going to get any muscle protein synthesis from it. But it does mean that some of that protein that you are consuming will be in excess and will be oxidized and converted for energy. So what I would aim for is a minimum of 30 grams of protein per meal, and then try to get in enough meals so you do hit your protein goal for the day. And that is probably the best way in order for the purposes of muscle hypertrophy, is you're going to want those frequent feedings of protein because that's going to maximize your muscle protein synthesis. This could arguably be the most important aspect when it comes to building muscle, and it's rest and recovery. So a lot of us, we don't have any issue. We like to go hard in the gym. We like to really push it, but a lot of times if we're not getting those gains that we want to see, we're not building the muscle we want, that we want, then we're going to have to take a step back, and perhaps we're doing too much and we're not recovering like we need to. So the way a muscle is built is you need to stimulate the tissue, cause a little bit of damage, and then when the tissue repairs, you're going to have a bigger, stronger muscle. So ensure you're getting adequate sleep. Getting enough sleep is going to allow your body to recover and allow for full muscle repair. Everyone's going to have a different sweet spot, but aim for anywhere from 7 to 9 hours and you should be good to go. Here is a little sample beginner hypertrophy program that you can use as a starting point. And this is split up into more of a legs push pull type of routine. And then again, for the reps, really anywhere from about 5 repetitions up to 30 repetitions. You're gonna, as long as the intensity is high, you're going to get muscular gains. You're going to get muscular hypertrophy. I still would recommend to experiment to find which rep ranges work best for you. Everybody's a little bit different. I, for one, I love sets of 8 repetitions. For some reason, that really stimulates my muscle. It allows me to get a good contraction and a good pump, and I always notice great results around that range. You may have a range that works better for you. For example, so for Monday, this is going to be a leg day. We're going to be doing barbell squats. We want to do 3 working sets. Again, anywhere from 5 to 30 repetitions, whatever you prefer. Then we're going to do some dumbbell lunges, 3 sets of that, leg press, 3 sets of that, and then standing calf raise. Tuesday, so this is more of the push type of exercise, push day that we're working towards. So this day is going to consist of a barbell bench press, 3 working sets, dumbbell incline press, 3 working sets, dumbbell flies, 3 working sets, and then that would be enough for a push day for the upper body. So it's consisting, of those horizontal, vertical presses, things like that, and then that will be your push day. Now, Wednesday is a rest day, and we want to incorporate some rest days in our training because it takes a muscle group anywhere from about 24 to 48 hours until it's fully recovered, so then you can work it again. So program some rest days if you can. Another technique you can do is combine muscle groups. So you're working every muscle group about every other day. That'll ensure that you're getting the maximal amount of stimulus for muscle growth. Again, this is just a beginner program. Thursday, this is going to be more of a leg slash pull day. So on this day, we're going to have so on this day, we're going to be doing pull-ups or pull downs. If you're unable to do a pull-up, you can always do a lat pull down. Great alternative exercise. Then we're going to do and you're going to do 3 working sets of that. Then we're going to move on to barbell deadlift, 3 working sets of that. We're going to do some bent over rows so we get some more horizontal pulling in there. 3 sets of that. Seated cable rows, another great horizontal pull. 3 sets of that. And then standing dumbbell shrugs, just so we also make sure we're hitting our trapezius muscle and working our neck muscles a little bit as well. Then we're going to go to Friday. Friday is going to be a little bit of mix. of some push with a little bit of pull just so we get that volume of the pulling exercises in there as well. This is going to consist of barbell shoulder press, 3 sets, dumbbell lateral raises, 3 working sets of that, dumbbell rear delt flies, 3 sets of that, barbell curls, 3 sets, and then tricep pushdowns, 3 sets of that. There's many different ways that you can do this. I threw on some arm stuff just because a lot of times people like to work their arms individually because they like to fill out their t-shirt, things like that. Saturday and Sunday, those are going to be your rest days as well. This program is just a starting point and should be adjusted as necessary to accommodate every individual's fitness needs, as well as your fitness goals. If you're training to be a power lifter, you're going to adapt your training program to be, higher intensity, lower volume, versus if you want to be more bodybuilding type lifting for that muscle hypertrophy. Generally, what we see that works a little bit better is that higher volume, moderate intensity. And it's also important to keep in mind that this is a long-term process. It's going to be the result of consistent hard work and dedication, to your workouts, to your nutrition, your hydration, your sleep over time. Nothing happens overnight. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. And if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe for more.